Hello, and thanks for joining us. Today's session provides an overview of the Professional Development Next Steps funding round and what you need to know to prepare a clear and eligible application. My name is Jesse, and I'm a funding officer in the Program Development and Partnership team here at Create New South Wales. This webinar has been developed to assist you with your application to the Professional Development Next Step Project Funding Round. We'll cover the purpose of the funding, who can apply, what types of costs and activities may be supported, and how applications are assessed. And finally, some general tips on completing your application and where you can find extra support. Before we move on, I'd like to acknowledge that wherever we are today, we are on Aboriginal land, and I pay my respects to the First Nations people who may be watching, as well as our First Nations colleagues here at Create New South Wales. I'd also like to acknowledge and give thanks for the First Nations care of our lands, waters and air in the place we now call New South Wales. Professional Development Next Steps is designed to strengthen New South Wales communities by investing in the professional capability of individual artists and arts and cultural workers. In line with the Creative Communities policy, the program supports activities that build skills and knowledge, develop cultural leadership, expand professional networks and collaboration, and strengthen personal well-being and resilience so that practitioners can sustain and grow their practice over time. This funding enables individuals to participate in skills development opportunities such as workshops, courses, residencies, and creative sector conferences and networking events. This funding could be used to enable career development for artists and arts and cultural workers, to support opportunities that develop cultural leadership capacities, skills, and knowledge, to promote professional networking and collaboration, or to help individuals build the skills, well-being, and resilience needed to thrive in their field. Please note that Next Steps is not intended to support projects that have a primary focus on the creation or presentation of new work. Applicants who are seeking funding for projects with a focus on the creation or development of new work could consider applying for the Creative Steps New Work funding round. To be successful for this grant, your project must be a clearly defined arts and cultural activity. It must benefit individual New South Wales artists or arts and cultural workers, and it must provide professional or skills development opportunities to advance your career. These activities might include research, training, coaching or mentoring, or attending workshops or conferences nationally or internationally. Please note that there are 3 other project funding streams that may be more suited to your project. Creative Nations is a funding round for First Nations-led organisations and individuals. Creative Steps is for individuals and groups to develop or present new work. And Cultural Access is for individuals and organisations with a project that will deliver outcomes for one of Create New South Wales' priority areas. You can find additional information about those programs on the resource page and the funding information on the Create New South Wales website. Applications for Next Steps will open on the 13th of April 2026 and close on Monday, the 25th of May 2026 at 2 p.m. Funding is available for projects that commence on or after the 1st of September 2026 and will need to be completed by the 31st of December 2027. Please note that there is only one round of professional development Next Steps funding in 2026. So if you're planning a project that will be delivered after the 1st of September 2026, you should make an application in this round. Individuals can apply for between $2,000 and $10,000. And remember, as an individual applicant, you may wish to consider using a funds administrator or an auspicer to help you manage the financial side of your grant. Create New South Wales does not fund 100% of your project. You must contribute at least 5% of the total income and your budget must break even. Your contribution can be cash from other grants or personal contributions to the project, or the provision of in-kind support, such as use of a venue for free. Next Steps is open to individual applicants who are 18 years of age or older, are currently living in New South Wales, and have for a minimum of 12 months. If successful, applicants must provide an active ABN with a nominated bank account or provide details of an auspicer or a funds administrator at the contracting stage. Please keep in mind that only one application can be submitted across ACFP project funding rounds. If you submit more than one, you'll be asked to choose one to proceed to the assessment stage. If you were successful in receiving funding from the previous round of Next Steps, you can't apply or be successful in this round of Next Steps. However, you can apply for this round of Next Steps if you were successful in receiving funding from previous project rounds, including Creative Steps, Cultural Access, or Creative Nations. Applicants can apply for support for the following costs: arts and cultural worker fees paid at appropriate industry rates. Fair payment for artists and arts and cultural workers should be aligned with recognised awards and industry standards. A list of links to industry standards and rates can be found in the ACFP glossary. As an example, if you are hiring musicians for any activity receiving funding from Create New South Wales, they must be paid at least a $250 fee per musician. This fee is based on a 3-hour call, as set out in the Live Performance Award and endorsed by the Fair Work Ombudsman. It's worth noting that wages and fees could include, for example, the cost of childcare for the artist or arts and cultural worker to participate in the activity, or to pay yourself a realistic wage to administer the project. Please make sure you include any on-costs or superannuation in your wages and fees. Applications could include funding for venue or space hire, such as cost to hire spaces for creating, rehearsing, presenting, or engaging communities in your project. You might also wish to request fees for travel and accommodation costs, such as transport and accommodation that's needed to deliver your project, including travel for artists, mentors, etc. Mentorship and workshop costs are also eligible. That might include costs for skills sharing, learning, and professional development through mentors, workshops, or facilitated sessions. Material costs are also eligible and might include materials and consumables required to create, develop, or present artistic work. Marketing and promotional costs are also eligible, such as costs that are needed to promote the project, reach audiences, and share outcomes, including design, printing, and digital promotion. Administration costs that are directly related to your project are also eligible and might include costs that are needed to administer the grant through an auspice arrangement, or project management and coordination fees directly linked to delivering the funded activity. Accessibility costs are eligible and may include costs to remove barriers so that all people, including people with disability or who are deaf, can participate, such as Auslan interpreting, captioning, access support, or access equipment. First Nations protocols and ICIP costs, such as the cost to respect cultural protocols and protect Indigenous cultural and intellectual property, including elders' fees and cultural advice, is also eligible. In your budget, you should consider all of the costs involved to deliver your project. You should also include superannuation on any wages or fees that you pay, and be mindful of any other on-costs such as loading and workers' compensation that may be required under relevant awards. There is further information on this in the Frequently Asked Questions page on our resources page of our website. Overall, your income and expenses should be realistic and accurately reflect the scope and scale of your project. By providing details in your budget, it helps the assessors to understand how you came up with these figures. There are 3 assessment criteria for Next Steps funding. The questions in the application form are designed to help you respond to the assessment criteria. As you draft your proposal, aim to be specific about what the professional development involves, who you will work with, what you will do, where it will take place, and what the learning or capability outcomes will be. The first criteria is idea, and it's worth 50% of your application. In this section, Describe what you want to do, why you want to do it, and what you expect the results to be. Remember that the purpose of the Professional Development Next Step funding round is to support professional development for individual artists and arts and cultural workers to enable participation in skills development opportunities, workshops, courses, and creative sector conferences and network events. So the strongest applications will be able to articulate the strength of their project and the impact to their professional development. This is where detail and being specific in your application can really help. Start by describing your project, clearly summarizing what the activity is. What do you want to achieve? How is the project important to your career or your skill development? And why is now the right time? Be clear and specific using examples and evidence where you can. The strongest applications will clearly articulate the purpose of the activity and what you want to achieve, how the activity is relevant to your practice or area of work, how you expect the activity will contribute to growing skills and career development, the importance of the activity to building your networks, a market for your work, or a more sustainable arts practice. You may wish to consider if the expected benefits or outcomes of the activity are commensurate with the scope and scale of the project. The second criteria is diversity and participation and makes up 20% of your application. Here, you answer the question, why do you want to do it? Start by describing how the project is relevant to or will benefit you and your community. Will it have a positive impact on any of the strategic priority areas listed on the right-hand side of the slide? You may want to consider the following. Why is your project relevant to you? How will it benefit you and the potential other artists, communities, or audiences? How does the project reflect perspectives of diverse communities in New South Wales? And what are the results that you want to see at the completion of your project? The strategic priority areas on the slide can be found with a full definition in the ACFP glossary. The third assessment criteria is planning, experience, and financial management and makes up the last 25% of your application. In this section, applicants can demonstrate how you have planned to do the project, who will be involved, and how you will manage any risks, including financial risks. To respond to this criteria, your application form prompts you to answer questions 3 and 4 and to provide a break-even budget. Question 3 is, who is involved and why are they the right people for this activity? You may want to consider the following. What experience do you bring to this project? What skills and expertise do the artists, arts and cultural workers, or organisations involved have that will ensure your project is a success? How will those involved help build your career and professional skills? Question 4 is about planning, and it is, how will the activities ensure you achieve your project goals? When you're answering this question, you may want to consider, how will the project activities create meaningful connection with the artists, communities, or audiences? Why are these the most appropriate activities for the project? And what are the expected professional development outcomes? When it comes to the budget section, you'll need to outline the costs involved to deliver your project. We strongly recommend that you provide a detailed breakdown of your income and expenses. When completing your budget, you may want to consider the following. Have you included all of the costs involved to deliver your project? Is the budget realistic and achievable? What other sources of funding are there in your project? Are the expenses related to providing accessibility and inclusion included in your budget? If First Nations artists, cultural workers, elders, or communities are involved, are there expenses relating to Aboriginal protocols and ICIP included? After the closing date, all eligible applications go through an assessment process. First, Create New South Wales checks the eligibility. All eligible applications are assessed by the Art Form Board you select in the application form. There are 10 Create New South Wales Artform boards with up to 20 members on each board. Artform board members include professional artists, producers, cultural workers, and leaders from across the sector. The Artform boards assess all applications to the Arts and Cultural Funding Program. Further information about Artform boards and the specific art forms that each board supports can be found in the Artform board's FAQs. Artform board members will score each application based on the assessment criteria. Assessment meetings are then held for each board to come together and determine final application rankings and recommendations. Create New South Wales finalises those recommendations with the number of applications by art form, the available budget, the geographical distribution of the highest ranking applications, and the strategic priority areas. The Minister for the Arts is the final decision maker. Applicants are encouraged to read the guidelines thoroughly before starting an application in Smarty Grants. To read the frequently asked questions in the resource page we'll share in a moment, and the FAQs will be updated continuously with answers to common questions throughout the application open period. We recommend you save your progress regularly in Smarty Grants and prepare uploads and supporting documents early. Make sure any support material you choose is directly relevant and strengthens the application. For example, an invitation letter from the organisers of the workshop you are planning to attend, or a simple and clear itinerary for travel. Leave plenty of time to submit the application well before the deadline at 2 p.m. on the 25th of May. Create New South Wales cannot provide an extension to the deadline. Application tips. Make sure you address the criteria when answering each question. We recommend answering each question using clear, plain language. It can be helpful to ask someone who doesn't know about your project if what you have written is clear. Don't rely on AI to provide answers for your application. Check all the available resources, especially the FAQs and the glossary, as they are updated on a regular basis. Prepare early and submit early. Access supports are available on request and include a Word version of the application form, translation support, dictation support, an option to answer questions using audio or video, as well as the National Relay Service, which is available for applicants who are deaf or hard of hearing. If you need additional support, Create New South Wales staff can provide information on the guidelines. However, please note that we cannot provide feedback on draft applications. If you have a question, please check out the online resources posted at newsouthwales.gov.au/ACFP. This is your one-stop shop to find everything related to this program, including frequently asked questions, glossaries of definitions and common terms, webinar recordings for each of the ACFP project grants, and information on the Artform boards. Thank you for listening to this presentation, and all the best with your application.